everyone, my name is Amber, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing the mid-year book Freakout tag. I believe this one was started by Ariel Bissett. There are 13 questions that I need to answer. I'm going to ignore 2 of them, I think, because I can't come up with answers for them. But otherwise we're going to have a good chat about how my year is going so far with reading. I will be doing a separate reading stats video and reading goals video. I don't know if I'm going to do those combined or if I'm going to do one for each thing. I'm not really sure how chatty I want to be. But this is just going to be the tag video in which I answer the questions, so let's get started. The first question is, what is the best book that you've read so far this year? I have 3 in 3 different categories. So for like modern fiction that I think is really snappy and I think a lot of people would enjoy, I chose Dead Silence. I gave this one 5 stars. It's sci-fi horror, so good. I spoke about this in one of my wrap-ups, whichever month I read it in, maybe May. Basically it's set in space. It's about a mechanical crew who normally go around fixing communications beacons in space, and then they get a signal one day which calls them to an abandoned ship that has been missing for decades. And then when they enter the ship, of course, things start to go wrong. I love this book. It's so fast-paced, really thrilling, really creepy as well, and space in general freaks me out, but abandoned ships, ghost ships in space, just adds an extra element to that, I think. So I gave that one 5 stars. I also really loved Know My Name, which I'm choosing for like a non-fiction book category because I wanted to add one. This is Chanel Miller's memoir, or not really a memoir, it's more of her experience with the sexual abuse trial that she had to experience because she was sexually assaulted by a guy while she was at university, and she had to deal with a lot afterwards. I really enjoyed it. I listened to it as an audiobook and she narrated the whole thing. I thought it was fantastic. I gave this one 5 stars as well. And then for more of a classic book, because I feel like I should mention one, I chose Kindred by Octavia Butler. This is the first book by her that I have read. I've only read 2 so far and I didn't like the other one, but this one was fantastic. Again, I gave it 5 stars. It's time travel-y, timey-wimey stuff. It's about a woman in the modern day, or in the 70s because that's when it was written, who gets dragged back in time over and over again in the American South to look after or save her white ancestor from dying. This woman is black, so obviously being dragged back in time into the American South is not great for her, and it's also not great because she's dealing with mixed feelings about having to save her ancestor who enslaved a lot of black people. I really enjoyed this one. I'd definitely reread it in the future. I need to get my hands on a physical copy. So yeah, those are 3 of my favourite books of the year so far. I'm going to be talking about them in multiple other videos. I'm sure this is not the last of me talking about them. The next question is, what is the best sequel you've read this year? And to be honest, I haven't read many sequels. I've read a lot of series starters for which I want to read the sequels for. For example, Blood Heir was a really good one and I really want to carry on with that trilogy. But in terms of sequels that I have read, I did a reread of the entire Arc of the Scythe trilogy as part of a book club, and I read The Toll at the beginning of the year and I loved it. I gave this one 5 stars. Upon a reread I only gave it 4 or 4.5 initially, but it's so good. So the first one in this series, Scythe, feels very YA, but as the series goes on, the world starts to expand and the characters grow older, and I would argue that the final book is very much an adult book with the same characters that we've been following from the YA books. It's really clever. It is a little bit long, but I enjoyed my time in this world so much and I enjoyed the characters so much that I didn't mind that. So definitely The Toll is up there. I also want to mention The River of Silver, of course, which is it's not really a sequel, it's a bunch of short stories based in the Daevabad world, and you have to read this book after you've finished the Daevabad trilogy, so it's kind of a sequel, I would say, although some of the stories are set like before the book started. Anyway, I had actually read this short story collection previously when the author uploaded them onto her website just after Empire of Gold was released. This time around I think she had added a couple more and they were definitely edited more and they were slightly different, and I love them. 5 stars. I love the Daevabad world. It's an excellent fantasy series based around Jinn and North African and Middle Eastern mythology. Love it so much, and I can't wait for her next book, which comes out next year. Question number 3 is, what new release have you not read yet? And I haven't read loads of new releases. I haven't really been buying many new releases this year. The one that has popped into my head is I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys, because I've been trying to read the ARC for ages, but I'm really struggling with ebooks this year, and then I got into a reading slump in June, so I need to read it soon because I do have an ARC of the UK copy which is coming out in August, but this actually came out in the US back in February, and Ruta Sepetys writes really good YA historical fiction. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. It's set in Romania and it's about a revolution there from the 80s. maybe. I don't know for sure because I haven't read the book yet, but I'm hoping it's going to be really good. I'm trying to see if there are any other new releases on my shelf that I have read, but I don't think I've really been buying any. I've not been keeping up with them as much as I usually do this year, just because of things that have been going on. Normally I do like new releases videos and I tend to buy 1 or 2 each month, but that's not been happening this year. But hopefully I can get back into it soon because I love reading new releases. Question number 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And I have so many, but I've narrowed it down to 2. Let me just quickly go through my list and make sure there are only 2. Oh, I don't know, there could be at least 3. I'm going to mention all of them. The first one is The It Girl by Ruth Ware, which is coming out this week, I think, as I'm uploading this, or maybe the week after. It depends when I upload this video, I don't know. But yeah, this is Ruth Ware's newest book. It's also her longest and it's her first with a new publisher, so I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not sure how it's going to go. I've seen a few reviews that said it sort of drags on a bit, and I can definitely see that happening, but Ruth Ware is a very established author now and very well practiced, so I think she can probably pull off a longer book. I don't know what it's about at all, but I'm fine with that because I just love Ruth Ware's books, and I've already done a video on which book of Ruth Ware's I think is best. I will include that in the description box down below. It's one of my favourite videos. I had a really good time with it, but obviously it doesn't include the newest one, so I might have to redo that video in sort of ranking style rather than a vlog style. The other new release I'm looking forward to is Carrie Soto is Back, I think it's called. I've just seen people calling it Carrie Soto. This is the new Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I'm really looking forward to it. I reread Daisy Jones and Evelyn Hugo this year and I've enjoyed both of them again. I might try and reread Malibu Rising before Carrie Soto comes out because I know that she is featured in that book, but I don't know if I feel like it just yet. And then a couple of honourable mentions because editing Amber is going to hate me for having to put more covers in the video. We have Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I really enjoyed The Love Hypothesis, and Amari and the Great Game, which has been pushed back over and over again, and it's finally coming out in September, I think, and I cannot wait. It's gonna be so good. Question number 5 is, what is your biggest disappointment of the year? And honestly, there are a few, but nothing really stands out massively to me bar 3 books. June was a disappointing month in general, but book-wise, we have The Thursday Murder Club, which I thought was going to be really fun, but it turned into a bit of a boring mystery, really, where the author was trying to be too funny. Ariadne, I thought was going to be fantastic, but it wasn't. It wasn't really a feminist retelling. It was basically just a retelling of a Greek myth, and Ariadne, the main character, spent most of her time just stuck online and not talking to anyone and raising kids. So yeah, didn't love that. And also I need to mention The Black Prism, which I thought I was going to love. I bought almost the entire series by the last book and I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was really boring, it dragged, I didn't like any of the main characters, so yeah, that's a shame because I'd had it for years and I thought I was going to love it, but I think I should have read it at the time before I was into, or before I'd read so much fantasy, because this just didn't hold up. It wasn't that great. Question number 6 is, what is your biggest surprise of the year so far? I have a couple. I'm choosing to believe this means like surprise in a good way. The first one is The Castaways, which is an adult thriller. I hadn't really heard much about this book, so I didn't really know what to expect from it, and that's why it's a surprise. I thought it was going to be kind of average 3-star thriller that just kind of like kept me plodding along in the reading zone, but I actually gave it 4 stars. It was really, really good, and I liked the different timelines it was told in, the different sisters' perspectives. It was really good. It's basically about one sister who crash lands on an island and the other sister who is trying to find her. And then the other one that I was really surprised about was Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I've read one of his books before, which is Bear Town. I liked it. Like, I gave it 3 stars. It was all right, but then Anxious People blew me away. I read this as one of my first books of the year when I was on holiday, and I wasn't expecting to love it so much, but I did. It made me cry, and I made my partner read it shortly after because I knew that he would love it. He cried. It was honestly a fantastic book about a bunch of people coming together in a stupid, silly circumstance, and then like their humanity coming out, basically. Really, really good. Question number 7 is, who is your favourite new author? And for this I've chosen S.A. Barnes, who wrote Dead Silence. I don't really know if I have many authors that I've read multiple books of this year that I didn't already know about, so that's why I've chosen S.A. Barnes. Question 8 is, who is your newest fictional crush? And I don't really have one, so I'm skipping that question. And question number 9 is, who's your favourite new character? And again, I couldn't really think of any new characters that like absolutely stand out, so I'm skipping this question as well. Question number 10 is, what is a book that made you cry? So I cried over Evelyn Hugo, I cried over Anxious People. I think that's about it though. I haven't read many emotional books this year, and I should probably change that because I do like emotional books. Question number 11 is, what is a book that made you happy? And for this I've chosen The Ex-Hex and The Love Hypothesis. Both of them were really cute romances, rom-coms. One part of The Ex-Hex that really stuck with me, the characters going into a magic boner cave, and that was fantastic. I loved it, and every time I think about that it makes me smile. Question number 12 is, what is the most beautiful book you've acquired this year? For this I've chosen a book that I haven't read yet, and that is God and Anatomy. which I think is absolutely stunning. So this is a hardback. It's really beautiful. There's nothing going on the inside, but I just really love the cover. I should probably clarify, I'm not religious. I bought this one because I'm really into the history of God and where the idea of God came from, basically, because it must have come from somewhere. And I picked this one up because it mentioned Yahweh, and it talks about how God's kind of cultural DNA stretches back and goes back over the years. It's something that I actually got into after watching The Prince of Egypt a couple of years ago, maybe like a year and a half ago, and it just pops into my head, like, I don't know how God came about. Like, what is the genealogy of God? Like, where did this idea come from? Because obviously I knew that it all started sort of in the Middle East, in Asia, but I didn't know how that evolved. So yeah, I bought this book. I do want to read it by the end of the year, but I've been in such a slump. I don't know if I'm going to get to it anytime soon, but I do think it's something that I want to buy more books on because I find it very interesting. And then finally, the last question, number 13, is what are some books that you need to read by the end of the year? I have a lot because I made a massive list at the start of the year of, what was it? It was books I will read in 2022, series to start or continue, and series to start or catch up with. And it was a very ambitious list, and I'm not doing so well so far. So I've read 5 books from this entire list, and the list is like a page long. So yeah, I'm not doing great, but here are some of them. These aren't in any particular order, but I probably should start with The Obelisk Gates. This is the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy that I've been meaning to read for absolutely ages because I love the 5th season. We have Oathbringer, which is part of the series that I want to finish or catch up with. We Hunt the Flame, which I think I'm going to love. Rage of Dragons, which has received mixed reviews, but I do think I will love it. The Invisible Library, just because it sounds like a good read. The Stone Sky, part of the Broken Earth trilogy. Gardens of the Moon, because my partner's been rereading Malazan. I'm really enjoying it. I think he's up to book 4 of his reread or something, and he thinks I will like this, although it's a bit dense and I'm not sure if I'm going to love it, but we'll see. And The Valiant was also on the list, and I'm hoping to read this soonish. But yeah, there are tons of books I want to read, and I really hope I don't get into any more reading slumps because I have so many books that I want to get to and so many like bookish projects that I want to do that it would be a real shame to get into another reading slump and not be able to read them, because reading relaxes me and makes me happy, and that's why I've been so miserable in June. So yeah, I've got a lot of books I want to read. I will list these questions below, so if you want to, you can answer them in the comments. That would be really cool. I'd love to see your opinions on these questions. If you're a booktuber and you've done this tag, then let me know as well. If not, then consider yourself tagged. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you all in my next one. Bye!